Hello, today we'll talk about the history of Dun Laoghaire or Kingstown. I chose Dun Laoghaire because my dad was born there, and I think that Dun Laoghaire has lots of history and is important in Irish history. First of all, why was it named Kingstown? In 1821, George IV visited the town and Dun Laoghaire decided to name it Kingstown in honour of George IV. Mostly everyone at least knows the Dun Laoghaire Harbour. The harbour was built between 1817 and 1842. It's recognised as one of the finest man-made harbours in the world. In the 1700s, Dun Laoghaire appeared on early maps as a small bay along a rocky coastline, about 11 kilometres from Dublin City. The name, according to the legend, is taken from Laoghaire, King of Ireland, who established a fort or Dun there in the 5th century. In November 1807, one of the greatest marine tragedies in Dublin Bay took place when two ships, HMS Prince of Wales and the Rochdale, sailing out of Dublin, were wrecked in a storm on rocks between Dun Laoghaire and Black Rock. About 400 people were drowned, many of them soldiers and their families. In the 1800s, the town was now enjoying the new industrial age. The opening of the first railway line in Ireland, Westland Row to Kingstown, in 1834, contributed to the rapidly expanding economy, helped also by the existence of a busy harbour, where coal was imported from Wales and fishing was a big business, led royal visits and larger vessels in the bay. This happiness slowly went down as the famine started in 1845. Throughout the famine, Dun Laoghaire, or Kingstown, led a massive role in it as the harbour helped with the immigration. It was also known to be as the Pier of Tears. The early 1900s saw the end of British rule in Ireland, and the newly elected Parliament adopted the establishment of the Irish Republic and the right of people of Ireland to govern themselves. Then, in 1924, Kingstown was reverted to the Irish spelling, Dun Laoghaire. The outbreak of World War I and World War II impacted on Dun Laoghaire, with the drain of young men and women enlisting for service as soldiers, air and army officers, and naval recruitments, many of whom would never return. Their names are now recorded on memorials in local churches, schools, colleges and public parks. Throughout the war years, the harbour gains its importance, becoming much more than a harbour of shelter. The British Admiralty, who visited Kingstown frequently on movements, were quick to set up a small naval base in the new port. The harbour continued operating a busy service, in addition to the lots of arrival and departure of military troops and warships. The service ran quite fine during the war year, except for one of Ireland's worst shipping disasters. On the 10th of October 1918, the RMS Leinster was torpedoed by a German U-boat, UB-123, with the loss of 560 lives, a tragedy made even more painful just 4 weeks before the end of World War I. Unemployment and immigration followed the end of World War II in 1945, noted in Dun Laoghaire by the closure of the mountain quarries, as quarry owners, stonecutters and labourers left Ireland to seek employment in Britain and somewhere else. In 1994, Dun Laoghaire became Dun Laoghaire Rathdown and has since been governed by the County Council, which is now responsible for the planning and development of the region. The area today runs southeast of the capital, falling between the sea and the Dublin Mountains, along the pleasing sweep of coastline from Black Rock to Bray. The entire region shows off ancient monuments, castles, mansions, villas and large parklands such as Marley, Cabinteely and Killarney. In 1970, the IRA, or Irish Republican Army, tried to set up a bomb that would blow up one of the 4 balls that carried the George IV monument, but failed as only the damage was a crack on the base. The blast went off at 3 a.m. and blew out the windows out of the nearby British Rail offices. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something new about Dun Laoghaire.